All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Big Football Guys. We are going to cover a lot of the NFL news that's come out and then a lot of the gear-specific stuff as well. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how the NFL and Oakley actually came together on a new deal until 2030. So initially it was a 4-year deal. They started in 2019, and that deal is obviously up. They have refreshed it, and they are back as the NFL's leading optics provider. So the coaches are going to be wearing Oakley sunglasses. And then, of course, the players, like you see Baker Mayfield, is going to be wearing Oakley branded visors. So something kind of unique that we've noticed heading into this year following this new updated partnership is that NFL Oakley visor tabs have different branding. So they used to just have the Oakley O on the visor tab, and now they've added the word Oakley underneath, which honestly, I think it's a little too busy. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, everyone you talk to, it's kind of like no one likes it. So I first saw this, the deal came out, or we found out about the deal on Monday. It was announced on Wednesday. And then the Jets were the first team to get them on their helmets for practice that day. And then obviously they premiered, I think on Sunday. I don't think everyone had them switched over by Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the new style here. So the O before, and I guess like you said, like, to be honest, so you have the O and you have the Oakley, and maybe they just looked at it and said, like, with that, there is room. So I'm not sure why they did or didn't do it. And I never even noticed that on the Oakley visor, the O is not centered. Hold on, Devin, on your side, it says live video will return when their internet improves. Devin, you there?
I'm here, yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a note. We'll just have to cut out, like, we'll just have to just get used to that. Anyways, so I don't actually know, and it's never bothered me until I noticed it right now, that the Oakley logo is not centered on the actual visor tab. If I look at here, this is an Oakley Legacy. It's actually the same thing. So I'm assuming that's because of they expect part of this black part to sit below the face mask bar, and they kind of just left it higher up for that. But maybe it's something to do with the way the visor's fitting differently than they thought on the helmet. And so they never had a reason before to switch it to Oakley or something. And now that, they see that the tabs are like sitting a lot higher, that they actually have room for it. Because like sometimes when you do see, so let me open this. What if we look at this old post from I have a Jalen. No, let's go here. So this is what it looked like with Ryan Jensen, but that's the Oakley Edge, so that's kind of different. Let's see, Baker Mayfield. Okay, so here's an example. So this is the Oakley visor before, with it kind of a little bit peeking out, and then this is it now. So I guess it kind of depends on the face mask option you pick as far as how much it's going to get seen. Personally, I mean, I don't think anyone disagrees that it looked a lot cleaner before. I think it's kind of unnecessary. I think everyone knows the O, and I think their branding is super powerful, and so I don't personally see the need for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You said, I mean, the O is so powerful. It's so iconic. They've been doing glasses for who knows how long. I just really don't think they needed to add the Oakley branding underneath. I don't think anybody looks at the O and they're like, what is that? So definitely kind of weird. But yeah, Oakley signed with them again with the NFL until 2030. So you're going to see it a lot more. Continuing to talk about the top half of the helmet, we got to talk about the Axiom top bar. So Axiom, or Riddell rather, has been kind of experimenting with a top bar. So when the Axiom initially came out, everyone's kind of like bashing it, like, oh, this thing's ugly. The face masks need a top bar. And so they're kind of messing around with it. I think Tony posted some really good pictures of some of the ones that we've seen around college football. So a lot of these, you can kind of see the bar going across there. No.
This one's been weird because, everyone with the Axiom's kind of been on the fence about it to begin with. Certain teams, I've noticed it's kind of, like, if I look up really quickly here, I'm just going to do something. Calgary. So this is the first one just because this is my local team that everyone always asks me about, is I've noticed the Axiom no bar looks the weirdest so far on a white face mask. There's something about it with, here's a good photo. Something about just that no bar on the Axiom here with the white face mask and nothing here is just like crazy out of place. And a lot of people have questions about it, and a lot of people are really uncertain about how it looks. And the theory behind the Axiom was the fact that getting rid of this top bar allowed the shell to flex better because there was no metal, which wasn't, compressive like the way the helmet is made to be, making the helmet safer. Obviously, there's been a couple drawbacks to that, being without the top bar for a visor to sit in, they've had to build the visor into the helmet. I actually thought the visor was an Oakley visor, but I have heard back, not from Riddell, but other sources, that they were not able to confirm with me if Oakley makes it. However, I thought it made sense that if they're doing something optical, if they're partnering with anything going to be related to the NFL, it made sense to do it with Oakley, as they already are very deep into the league. So there's been a lot of questions around the Axiom as a whole. Most people's issues with it initially were cosmetic, but then it was kind of, you can live with the cosmetic if you're going to get the safety side. But then what started this was actually the first guy I saw that posted this. I'm going to open another tab and show you this video. Devin, do you follow 2G Visors?
Yes, that's Cole. That's my guy.
Yeah, so he was the first one that I saw. I saw this on TikTok. Was this video? It's got 1.3 million of showing if you don't have a visor on it, how two Riddell Axioms can basically fit together. And the reason he was posting this is because he said basically visors need to be replaced on the Axiom every 2 to 3 games because of the amount of scratches that the flat visor gets, which means Axiom owners need to replace at least 3 visors a year. And if you don't have a visor, this is the hazard you're going to run into. Now, that's obviously not with all face mask styles, because like the one Micah Parsons wears is a little bit higher up. It kind of has like a little bit of a top bar to it. So it's not across the board, but for all or the most common face masks we've seen so far, being this like really open scale position mask, this is definitely a concern, which has prompted Riddell to now look into top bars. We saw some experimenting one week with it. This was a random Wyoming helmet that had like an Adidas visor, because Wyoming is Adidas sponsored, that was fit underneath it, and they had a top bar. The interesting thing to point out, I've noticed with some of these new face masks is, have you noticed that the material of the face mask looks more like an old school, like a carbon steel face mask, where the new Axiom face masks are generally like a lot thicker, like almost like a thick plastic looking material?
Yeah, I do see it as like a little bit different. I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like the initial Axiom face masks were less like tubular, and like they had some flat parts as well.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I'm
if you
saying?
look at, let's see if this works. Yeah, it's not going to do it, but it's like the original Axiom face masks had like more flat sides and were thicker, and the thickness made like me think like back to an old school plastic face mask from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I thought of with it. I know it's obviously not that, but like you can just tell by like the material that it just looked more, especially with the amount of material and some of these spots on it, it just looked like it was clearly a different, thicker material made specifically for the Axiom. Where I noticed with these ones, it looked more like a standard carbon steel face mask that they might have just whipped up as fast as they could to start testing. But yeah, Wyoming tested it. There were some guys on, what team is this? Is this Kansas?
Kansas State.
They had, it looked like this looked more like an Axiom face mask within a double, again, it's a double top bar. Who else was there? That was the 2G video. And then the crazy part was the fact that this guy was on Illinois.
Yep.
And he was testing it for them last week. And then this week, it all went south when his top bar bent like crazy. This photo that I posted got a lot of traction, and Riddell took a lot of heat on it. There seems like people are kind of, I don't want to say they're out on the Axiom yet, but like I said initially, the first point was we can potentially put up with it if it's safer. but now they're experimenting, and it kind of seems like it's going backward.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
It's
don't know.
definitely a bad look for Riddell to have those bars, be as bent as they are. But I mean, it makes complete sense. You see the same thing happen with the Speed Flex sometimes. It's just there's nothing at the top of the mask really holding those bars in place, like on a shut helmet. So with enough force, you're playing a violent sport, it's gonna bend the metal, and that's what it's gonna look like.
I think it would help if Riddell came out and said, "We have noticed this issue." If they did like a press release or something. I don't think it looks great if it's taking like news outlets and stuff to find it themselves and basically report on that they're testing this, and then also report on the fact that some of the tests are failing. I think if they came out and said, "We have noticed this. This is an issue. We're working with a couple specific teams that have kind of opted in for this to help us learn more about it to make sure we can know we're making the safest thing possible." I think that would be honestly a little better if they were kind of controlling that narrative. But when it's kind of the media that's controlling the narrative around it, obviously they're going to lean more negative towards this didn't work the first time. They're scrambling to come up with something new, and that is also failing. Right. But that's kind of the trouble if you don't say anything about it. I don't really know what's going to happen next week. I have no clue. We haven't seen this in the NFL. I don't know if they're doing that because it's a bigger stage and they're worried. And so they're testing it on, because like, frankly, it's Wyoming, Illinois, and Kansas State.
Yeah.
They're not on college game day, right? They're not nationally televised games, for the most part, I'm assuming. So I could see why they want to test it at the highest level possible with the lowest potential impact of national visibility.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense on their part, actually.
But, something there.
Yeah, but still, a pretty bad look for them overall. Just seeing it's bent and then they're not saying anything about it.
Yeah. Like I said, if it's something that they find out and they said, "Hey, this was a mistake. We tried something new for this. It actually makes the helmet less safe," or "We've noticed this is an integral part of a helmet and we're going to revert back and we're going to come up with something new," I got no problem with that.
Yeah. All right, so enough about Riddell and the Axiom. Now it's time to talk about something I enjoy a little bit more, and that's going to be cleats. So we're going to talk about the best cleats from both Week 1 and Week 2. So we're going to check out football equipment. What a good page that is. Let's see. What do we got? Swing it up.
All right. We going Week 1 first, or are we going to go Week 2 because it's fresh in the mind?
Let's just go Week 1 first. So right there with OBJ in his 3 pairs. Bottom left. All right, there we go. So OBJ, of course, one of the best cleat kings in the business. Week 1, he pulled out 3 different pairs of cleats for pregame. It was these Randy Moss, I think they're called Air Jordan Freaks. It was a Jordan PE made for Randy Moss that he wore on AstroTurf. So they were basically basketball shoes that he would wear in game. And then in game, OBJ wore more Chrome Hearts custom. So of course, OBJ is kind of going through a legal battle with Nike because of exactly this, customizing his cleats. And so now he's kind of taking it a step further. You don't see any Nike logos on his gloves or cleats, and there are a lot of Chrome Hearts all over them. So it's the same cleat, Nike Vapor OBJ PEs made just for him, but no Nike logos and a lot of customization. Let's see who we got next. So next up, we got Stefon Diggs. So Stefon Diggs in the offseason signed a partnership with ASICS, which I don't think we've ever seen an NFL player do, because of course they don't make on-field football equipment. But Stefon Diggs just kind of does things a little bit differently. So here's him, little photo shoot action with ASICS. I don't know too much about ASICS personally, but I know the cleats that Mosh cooked up for him were very cool. They were based on, what are they called? Some ASICS running shoe. I can't remember the name, but the base cleat is still a Nike Vapor, which is the cleat he's been wearing for majority of his career. But it is painted to look like an A6, and I think they look so cool. Just seeing something a little bit different on the field always makes me a little happier. It's fun to see. Yeah. Who we got next?
I was going to say, the interesting thing about this, and if we want to talk about the Stefon Diggs thing more later, we can. But there's actually 2 pairs of these. So there's this pair, and there's the actual pair that. So I thought he was going to wear this pair that Mosh created. Where is it? I posted it. It was like days ago.
Maybe up to your A6 partnership post.
Why
It's
can't I see this?
below Kelsey.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
So Mosh created these actual cleats for him, and I thought he was going to wear these. But I said, put these together for Diggs. We're assuming they're going to be debuted. I personally thought he was going to wear these Asics in pregame only because, like, you can tell they took an Asics running shoe, they slapped a plate on the bottom of it somehow.
Yeah.
So this is like a legit Asics running shoe that they put some plate on, and I don't know what the plate is.
I feel part of me feels like it's the old like Natty Zero sprint frame plate, but it could be like a soccer plate as well. I can't really tell.
Yeah, and so I thought he was just gonna like wear these in pregame or something, but then yeah, like you said, these were created for him, and then he broke out a painted pair of what are those Vapor Edge 360 Speed 2?
360 Speed 1, those are the ones.
Those ones?
Yep.
How can you tell from looking at it when it's full of paint?
So I mean the inner pods, the Achilles pods are circular on the Speed 2s. And then there's like a couple extra eyelets and stuff. The cleats themselves are super similar though.
I don't know how the hell you do that so easily, but
I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
So next up, we got Jay Jettis, one of the swaggiest guys in the game. He pulled out his 99 club. These are customs, again, by Mosh. These things are crazy. So, of course, Nike and Jordan for years have been giving their athletes 99 club football cleats, all gold. And Under Armour kind of took their idea a little bit and did the same thing for Jay Jettis. So these are pretty cool. They went really well with this Vikings throwback uniform that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But these cleats, I mean, look at them. They are shining. Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Also, just to note, he did cover up the Under Armour logo on the heel. If you guys look closely in that bottom right, it is covered up. Of course, that's because Under Armour said no more deal with the NFL, save themselves like $15 million for that on-field sponsorship. But the logos do have to be covered up. Who we got next here? Next up, we got Deshaun Watson. So he wore some custom Jordan 4s. These aren't PEs. Somebody put out a post saying they're PEs. These are not PEs. These are customs by @Coda Customs. He does some incredible cleat recreations, basically. I can't really tell what the base cleat is on these. It definitely has an edge plate, so it's some Vapor Speed cleat, but I can't exactly tell which one. Probably the Pros. But super clean. They have a DW4 tag on the front and then also on the heel tab as well. These are really cool. What else we got? Next up we got Boston Scott. So I'm a Giants fan, so Boston Scott fuels my nightmares. But he did pull up in some, I think these are Nike SB Dunk lobsters. They're like silver lobsters. The gray silver looked really cool with the Eagles uniforms. These are done by our guy, Sean. I don't know how to say his last name.
Sean the Don? I think that's his name. Sean Vergara?
Yeah, well, this guy. Yeah. He makes some incredible cleats, and he made these. And they turned out really nice. Who else we got here? We got Kareem Jackson. So this is another pair by Coda Customs. These are the cleats based off of the Nike LeBron Zoom Gen 1. And they're all orange, perfect for the Broncos uniform. Huge fan of these. They look really good. Kareem Jackson is one of those guys that kind of flies under the radar, but he has some serious cleat heat every week. So stay tuned to see him on these lists constantly.
Yeah, he did last year, too, at the end of last year.
Yeah. Next up, we got one of my personal favorites. I've loved Grant Delpit since he was at LSU. He pulled out a pair of, I believe these are Kobe 6 Mambasita customs. He did wear them again for the second half on Monday Night Football as well, this week too. But these are really cool. I mean, Kobe's just looks so good on the field. There's no denying it, and these worked pretty good with their uniforms as well. Next up, we got Garrett Wilson, New York Jet, and he pulled up in some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle customs. These were by Mosh as well. He wore these only for pregame, so we didn't get to wear them in-game. But still, really cool pair of cleats.
I wonder why he didn't wear them.
Honestly, for me, I think the white just looks way cleaner with those uniforms, the all-white Jets uniforms. Yeah. I feel like that lighter green probably would have clashed with the darker green that they were wearing. That's my 2 cents on it.
I'm also kind of surprised that Mosh painted them and not Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, you start to see these artists kind of pop up throughout these. There's like a couple that kind of dominate the space. Next up, we have another Coda Customs, a guy who's dominating the space with these crazy Cleat recreations. And these are a Louis Vuitton Air Force One inspired football cleat. So these are pretty crazy. You guys can see that Louis Vuitton leather all over the upper. I assume they're pretty heavy because that is a thick leather, I think. But either way, they looked really cool. Nah, the stuff Coda does is crazy, dude. Next up, we got a simpler pair by Arts Undefined, another one of the great customizers in the game. And Javonte Williams is wearing kind of a leopard print, cheetah print. I don't know what the difference is between the two prints, to be honest with you. But super clean, orange, blue, matches the uniforms. He wore them again in week 2 as well. And that's going to do it for week 1 Cleat Heat. Now let's skedaddle on over to week 2. We've got Grant Delpit once again. This guy's going to be on here constantly. He really cares about his drip. This week, he pulled up in some orange and white foamposite cleats. This is him celebrating an interception, so he also balled out in them. And then I just said it, but he also wore the Mambacitas again as well. Who we got next? Oh, we got Quan Alexander. So last year he was with the Jets, had some incredible cleat heat all season long. Now he's here with the Steelers, and he wore these customs right here. So these customs are based off of the Nike Nocta 6 or Nocta 8. So that's basically like Drake's line of shoes, I guess. I don't really know too much about them, so I was really kind of like, what are these? But they look sick. The colors, the details, they just looked really good. And they went perfectly with the Steelers uniforms on Monday Night Football.
Looking at these, this silhouette looks really clean. I feel like I'm looking at him on his feet, and they look like big and bulky. I'm kind of like,
yeah, I totally agree. Drake Nocta shoes historically are kind of like a bulkier looking like dad shoe kind of vibe. But anytime you get with these, these recreations on top of other cleats, you're going to get kind of a bulky look.
Yeah, I get it.
So next up, we've got Deebo Samuel, Jordan Athlete. I can't tell if these are PEs or customs. I mean, looking at them now, they definitely look like PEs because, they're just too clean. All the cuts, all the leather, it just looks too clean. So Jordan 11s, these are kind of like a reverse cherry. So everybody kind of knows the cherry Jordan 11s. You got the red on the bottom, white on the top. These are kind of a reverse version of that. Really like these a lot. Super clean. What else? Oh, this one, you guys love this one in the comments, dude. These are really cool. So this is Quincy Williams, linebacker for the Jets. Or these cleats right here. So these are a LeBron 2, and they're inspired by the St. Vincent St. Mary's, which was LeBron James's high school, or St. Mary's St. Vincent's, one of the two. But the colors are perfect for the Jets, green, gold, white. And these things, you don't see a lot of LeBron 2s really anywhere. And when these basketball silhouettes kind of transfer their way to the gridiron, it looks so cool. I'm such a huge fan of these. And this is another pair by Coda Customs. He killed these, dude. These are incredible. Next up, we've got a guy who's going to be on this list probably every week, as long as he stays healthy, and that's going to be OBJ. OBJ paid more homage to Randy Moss. We just talked about the Super Freaks he wore last week, and then this week he pulled up in some Jordan 11 Randy Moss PEs, basically. So these were actually customized by the Surgeon, who has done a lot of OBJ's cleats recently. And these are really sweet. You get the little moss details. You get the purple, the white, the yellow, the 84, the moss on the tongue. These are really cool.
And so this is a Nike Alpha X-frame traction plate, right?
Yeah, so the base of this cleat is still still OBJ's like Nike Vapor PE cleat that he does all the Chrome Heart stuff on. Basically, OBJ was the first one to get the Alpha plate before it was known as the Alpha plate, that with the X-frame going through the bottom. So it's kind of like a big skill plate that OBJ and Nike kind of put on his skill cleats before they turned into a big skill plate. But that's the base, is that OBJ PE. Next up, we got another guy who's on this list constantly, CJ Gardner-Johnson. So he wore this pair of cleats right here, blue, black, silver. These are inspired by the LeBron 20, which it's crazy that LeBron has 20 signature shoes to begin with. We just talked about LeBron 2s, now we're talking about 20s. But these are really clean. You've kind of got the double swoosh on the outside. You got the black, you got the silver, and then just the blue top of the cleat looks really clean. And then, CJ Gardner-Johnson finished the rest of it. A lot of good drip there. What's up?
What's going to suck is he might be out for the year.
I did see that it was a pectoral injury, right?
Yeah, so he tore his pec on Sunday. And I was listening to Pat McAfee today, and they're basically talking about it depends on the kind of tear. If it's one they basically said, like, if it's a pectoral tear, that there's one where you can play through if it's not bad enough, where they can brace it. And do you remember when Baker Mayfield had that brace that kind of just went on his shoulder?
Yeah, I remember that.
I gotta learn how to stop that. But yeah, so it's like the brace that basically limits your range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
So he might be able to get away potentially with that at this point. I don't think there's a verdict. But if it's when you have to have surgery, then your year's over.
Yeah.
So at this moment, they came out saying it was a pec tear today, and so there's no verdict on it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would suck, especially a guy like that. Like, imagine how many cleats he probably already had lined up for the year. You know, which obviously he's thinking about a lot bigger things right now than like, oh no, my cleats aren't going to get used. Like,
it's true.
But
you'd be surprised, man. These guys love that stuff.
Yeah, true. All right,
he had some crazy stuff with the Eagles last year too. But so he's probably got a lot lined up for the Lions. New color scheme, new stuff you can do. What else we got? Next up we got a Giant. Very excited to add one of my New York Giants to the list. This is Isaiah Simmons, who we just traded for, and he pulled up in this really cool pair. So these are based off of the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Phantom. So it's basically an all-black Jordan 1 with a reverse Travis Scott swoosh, and he paired these up with some black accessories. You got the black gloves, you got the black kind of like turtleneck gator design, and then the black undershirt. I thought it was really cool. These are customs by Sean again, so he makes some really good stuff, man. You're going to see him a lot throughout the season. But I really like these. You know, I always say you can't really go wrong with all black accessories, and that remains true.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we got Juju Smith-Schuster. So these are really cool cleats. I couldn't get a good photo, but Charlie the Kirihara, the guy who created them, did post a really good reel kind of going through his process. We can check that out really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are super sick. So they're basically his at a zero PKs, and then Charlie took a bunch of playing cards, took all the laces off, ripped up the cards, and then he stuck the cards on with some kind of double-sided tape. And I'm not sure if the paint he has any epoxy or anything in it to hold it together, or if it's straight up just paint. And then he basically did that, put the little decals and stuff back on, relaced them up with some black and red laces, and sent them out the door.
Yeah, these are really cool. You know, first of all, it's really cool that he kind of used the number 7, which is obviously Juju's new number in New England, and then just kind of seeing the creative process of a cleat artist. You know, seeing kind of the steps they go through is always really cool, and how much time and effort really goes into these cleats that these guys are going to wear for just a couple hours. And I really like these cleats. They're very cool.
Is that it? Or no, I clicked. That's my bad.
Yeah, we've got a couple more in there. Yeah.
Get back. Ooh. Well, you are here.
There we go. So next up, we've got Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley wore this pair of, they're like teal with like the outline of the bone on the side of the cleat. I thought these were really cool. Halloween's, right around the corner. It felt like these were pretty sick. These are customs by Arts Undefined. He makes some really good, simple stuff. A lot of color swaps, a lot of cool little intricate details like these. I know they're not the flashiest on this list, but I just really like them, especially for Calvin Ridley. It just felt like a good fit. And I'm a big fan of these. Not too much else to say about them.
Cool. I haven't even looked at these yet. These are actually really cool.
Yeah.
It's
just you get the whole like bone structure right there on the side. It's a cool idea. And then lastly, we've got George Odom, which is a name I was not previously familiar with, but he pulled up some really cool cleats. These are the Nike Air Flight Zoom. These are also they're known as the gloves. So these are a shoe. I think they were Gary Payton's signature shoe. I could be wrong on that. But this is kind of the Miami Heat colorway that Gary Payton wore with the Heat, of course. Really cool, classic shoe. I mean, we've seen some guys wear these on the football field in the past, and it's just a really clean look. It's such a clean silhouette. You've got the zipper kind of closing them up, and just like an outer sock layer around the whole cleat. Just really cool. I like these.
The same ones that Leonard Fournette wore last year.
Yes. Playoff Lenny did have those. Yep.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, so these are also by Coda Customs. So he's done, I guess, a couple of these glove pairs over the last couple of years. But that is...
Yeah, I want to carry moving forward, but it'll be a little, obviously, quicker when we're doing 1 week instead of 2.
Yeah.
Let's go. Super cool. It's the amount of stuff that's going to come out this year from these guys is like unbelievable.
Yeah, you don't really realize how much effort and time, these guys put in the off season and like getting their gear right, getting their cleats ready, talking to the artist, saying, "Hey, I want this, I want
Yeah.
this, I want this, I want it all ready to go for September."
Mm-hmm.
So, and now they get to show it every week, so that's really
Yeah.
exciting. Next thing we're going to talk about is some of the alternate uniforms that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. We'll just kind of go through these pretty quickly. The first one is the Vikings throwback, so we could go back to that picture of Justin Jefferson. These are really cool. Let's see if I can pull it up.
I'm going to do this just to make my life a little easier here. These were the throwbacks for week 1 right here.
Hey, CJ Ham, the boy. But yeah, so these are throwbacks they wore week 1. Super clean. These are definitely one of the better throwbacks I've seen. So they're based on the 60s and 70s uniforms that the Vikings wore. You've got kind of that satinish Vikings helmet. And then just the simple purple uniform with the those yellow stripes. It just looks really good. There's not too much else to say about it. It's just like a really clean look. I think I prefer it to their regular uniforms, honestly. And usually I'm like a modern uniform type of guy, but I really like these. They look really good.
I saw a thing and it kind of ruined throwbacks for me. But it said everyone now is just doing a jersey with stripes on the shoulders and calling it a throwback.
Yeah.
And it might ruin this. Like, it's same thing for me, right? Next one was the Jets throwback that they wore for Monday Night Football, or they wore for this week. I don't remember. I think they wore it first week, right?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
They were with Rodgers. Week 1, all white.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any. I'd like to go to the actual game photos, but yeah, here. Yeah, I don't know. I do like him. Yeah, I don't know. I saw that post and it just kind of freaking ruined him for me because I was like, oh, I guess yeah, you're right. But it's like I do like the stripe look on his shoulders, so it's not like it's something that like isn't something I already drive with. So I definitely like them, but yeah, I guess I wasn't around back then to know that like every jersey back then actually just had the stripes, and so like a lot of throwbacks are like kind of similar.
Yeah. They also have the white face mask as well, which are really cool. They don't have that in the regular one, right? Right.
No, they're normally a black face mask.
Oh, right. That's one thing. I never get that with them. Wait. Yeah, you're right. They wear a black face mask. I don't really get why the Jets put black into their uniforms when they kind of rebranded. But the white is super clean. It looked really good.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Last one. We saw it last night.
Yes, the Browns throwbacks. These were really cool too. I was a big fan.
What is that? Do you see that on my screen?
Yeah. Ooh, Jedrick Wills.
So, yeah, this one is this is Jedrick Wills, and who's up beside him? Dude, why are we getting like pop? Another lineman beside him here, and these were their jerseys they wore last night. So the throwback. Oh, the other thing I said was throwback jerseys are just color blocked letters and stripes on the shoulders.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
And if you look at this, the Vikings, like it's literally the same. But
it was a simpler time.
What did you think about the white helmet?
Oh, I love the white helmets. This whole look for me, like I was doing my best looks for Instagram, and I think I have 3 or 4 Browns on there because the look is it's so clean. And then the guys did a really good job wearing white accessories, as you can see with Jedrick Wills. Jedrick Wills is actually on my best looks, which come out on Wednesday. But just it's so clean. I love all white, always have. So I'm kind of biased, but it looks really good. It is as simple as stripes and block letters, but I love it. I really do.
I don't know. I don't know what it was for me that like the white helmet on the Browns just kind of threw me a little farther than
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's just something to do with. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Something about the Browns not in just an orange helmet feels the most off to me of like all the color rush helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the alternate helmet. I don't know. It's just something about the Browns being the orange helmet that I just don't ever want to see them anything but the orange helmet.
Yeah. That is kind of it's literally their logo, is the orange helmet. So it is a little weird seeing a white helmet.
He's a guy.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah. You notice, by the way, is this new this year? The NFL jerseys perforated?
Yeah, so they did. They updated the jersey template for this year. It's called, I think, the Nike Vapor Fuse, I think is the official term. They kind of been experimenting with it for a couple of years now. I remember seeing Jamal Adams and DK Metcalf wearing them like a year or two ago, just kind of testing them out. And now they've finally, made the switch. You notice the collar is a little bit different too. It's got like a kind of a geometric pattern in there near the NFL shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I haven't, obviously gotten my hands on one, but they look pretty cool. I mean, I don't mind them. But I think they're called the Nike Vapor Fuse. I think that's the name.
What else we got to cover?
So, let's talk about some individual stuff. So, we did talk a little bit about Stephon Diggs signing with ASICS, so we won't talk about that too much. But Saquon Barkley, who just got hurt, unfortunately, is wearing a Visus 02 football helmet, which we've seen Saquon start his career in the Speed Flex. We've seen him wear the Shut F7 last year, and now he's switched to the third one, the Visus 02. A little bit, I don't know if we've ever seen a player wear that many helmets in a career, like especially three totally different brands. To go from Riddell to Shut to Visus is wicked. But I feel like we've seen Visus really pick up this year. What do you think? I feel like we've seen a lot of quarterbacks in it specifically, and then some other guys like Saquon as well.
Yeah, so quarterbacks by far has been the most, and that's because of their QB matrix.
Yep.
With the precision tuning in the back for basically hits from behind, or falling on the back of your head, which coincidentally did not help Anthony Richardson, who fell on the back of his head when he scored and is out with concussion.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously, but it can't prevent everything. Yeah, it hasn't been a really running back heavy helmet. I've seen a lot more running backs this year, either in the Speed Flex or in the Riddell Axiom. Nick Chubb this year actually switched out of the Zenith to a Shut F7. So that was, one of the only changes. But yeah, most running backs, I'm struggling to think of another running back that's in a Visus right now. I can't really think of any. Most of them are probably in a Speed Flex. I'm just thinking Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Alex Madison, Delvin Cook. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was in a Axiom last year.
Yeah.
Like there's Henry's in the Speed Flex. Like Speed Flex, I'd say by far is the most popular. Still among running backs. Visus, he might be the only one.
He might be. I'm sure there's like some second, third string guys who are in the Visus.
Yeah.
I know I know there's more. They're not coming to me right now. This is totally unrelated, but didn't David Johnson kind of wear the Visus when it was kind of first coming out? That's a random name to pull, but I think that happened. But yeah, so we've seen Visus kind of pick up, especially among quarterbacks. Tua's in it. Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson, Zach Wilson actually just switched into it. He wore a Speed Flex week 1, he wore Speed Flex week 1. Now he's in it. Kenny Pickett, I think, is in the Visus 02 now as well. He used to be in the Axiom last season. So we're seeing a lot of QBs, make the switch because of this new QB matrix position-specific helmet for quarterbacks. So it's supposed to keep them a little bit safer. We'll see if it actually does. Kind of talking about the Anthony Richardson concussion, but
yeah,
we'll see. So next we're going to talk about, there's a couple names who have signed with some new brands, which is always fun. Justin Fields, Chicago Bears quarterback, is signed with Reebok, who has been out of the football game for a long time. They used to make all the uniforms, and they were super popular with the cleats in the early 2000s probably.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of neat. He did have a little bit of a photo shoot thing. I posted about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you can see him kind of in some Reebok gear and some Reebok trainers in a Reebok windbreaker. It's neat to see kind of these other brands enter the space, that haven't, been in it for a while. And, Reebok, for an example, he's got the Reebok football, Reebok shirt. Obviously, Reebok doesn't make cleats currently. I do wonder if they're trying to kind of get back into the space and if they're going to start making cleats. Could be fun to find out. But for now, he's still wearing Adidas football cleats, and he's spatting them up. So he's covering the logos, best he can. So he's kind of staying loyal to Reebok. But yeah, pretty cool.
This comment here says Reebok is owned by Adidas. Is that confirmed? Do we know? Is that true?
So I know Reebok once upon a time owned Adidas, or Adidas once upon a time owned Reebok. I'm not sure if they still do. I'm sure you could find it. So Adidas bought
Reebok
Reebok in
sold
06.
to Authentic something in
Yeah.
2021. So no longer owned.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what Reebok's plan is. I'd love to see them come back into space and make cleats. As guys who love football equipment, I'm always looking to see more brands jump in and make cool stuff. So I'm totally with it. I don't see why not.
I'm just gonna let that guy know he's wrong.
Imagine he's watching the podcast and he just sees you comment that mid video.
Yeah. Then someone else signed, right?
Yeah, so Will Anderson Jr., the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft, has signed with New Balance. So New Balance signed somebody else earlier in the year, Chase Young.
Yeah.
And this is kind of part of the Clutch Athletics, New Balance kind of partnership. Clutch Athletics is one of the biggest sports agencies in the world. So yeah, Will Anderson is with New Balance. So when the Chase Young news initially broke, it was announced that they were kind of working on developing a football cleat. So New Balance is going to be back, or not really back, huh? They're going to be in the football space soon, hopefully. I think they're kind of eyeing a debut of the cleat in 2024, so that's something to look forward to. But yeah, so New Balance has got a couple big name edge rushers, on their roster, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with that and if they sign anyone else.
Yeah.
It probably is by design that they're signing similar positions, so whatever cleat or whatever accessories they focus on to launch with will work across all their guys. Because if they signed, for example, instead of Will Anderson, they signed CJ Stroud or something, and then they want to release something in 2024 to launch their into football, they'd have to double up all their R&D to have something that would work for. They'd have to come up with products that would work for Chase Young and CJ Stroud, which would be way harder to do and double their budget and double everything else that they'd have to get done and marketing and who they're targeting and R&D and everything that goes into designing a cleat. So it would make sense if they were targeting one group to start. Chase Young was their pillar, and now they're going to build out guys around that. And Will Anderson, obviously he's known, but he's not a household name. I don't know if that's part of the strategy, you know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, yes, he was still a top, 3 pick.
Yep.
You go, yeah, right. But if you said Will Anderson to someone that watched football, you'd probably have to take a minute to think about it.
Somebody actually commented on that post. Who?
Yeah, I literally saw that, right? And that's what made me think of it. Like, yeah, maybe they're targeting guys that, like, Will Anderson, he's not a household name yet. He will take unless something crazy happens this year, another year, 2 years before, he kind of has a big, blast off rookie season or something this year before his kind of capital goes up of what they would have to spend to get him. Just be under the umbrella. And I'm assuming he's probably also represented by Clutch Sports.
Probably.
Yeah, right. That would just make sense that they're getting guys that they're already representing.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely makes sense. If you see any more guys sign with Clutch over the next, 8 months or whatever, they'll probably be all around that same position type.
Yeah, that's a fair prediction for sure. I can't wait to see what they come out with as far as a cleat goes. I'm assuming it's going to be like a mid-top cleat. When Chase Young was with Under Armour, he wore... What did he wear? Oh, he did wear the Cam Newtons. Okay, so that's kind of a lighter weight mid-cut cleat, which is, the perfect option for an edge guy, which both of these guys are. So I'm kind of anticipating a cleat similar to that. But now New Balance technically I think has more athletes than Under Armour, which is kind of crazy because Under Armour has just kind of put all their chips in on just Jefferson, which it's not doing too bad, but it is kind of weird to see, in 2023, New Balance has more NFL athletes than Under Armour does.
That's crazy to say, especially, but it's just crazy to know that also, yeah, Under Armour literally has one that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
That being Justin Jefferson, like you said, everything is all, and they cashed in. It's not like they got a guy.
Yeah.
Adidas has a couple. Nike is flooded. Jordan is growing. Yeah, New Balance now has too.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens with Reebok. I don't know. Maybe it'll become popular for these guys. They want to go against the status quo type thing. Reebok, Under Armour. They want to represent 90s brands that were around when they weren't even born yet.
Yeah,
You know?
further speaking on Reebok, Reebok or TJ Watt and JJ Watt have been signed with Reebok for quite some time. I'm pretty sure. You look at their gear they wear. Usually the logos are blacked out or
Mhm.
blocked. JJ Watt has had his own Reebok trainer in the past, so maybe that's what they're going to kind of do with Justin Fields. Is no on-field stuff, but a trainer, some gear, some clothes, stuff like that. More lifestyle than on the field NFL stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and TJ Watt, he wears the Under Armour highlight gloves. I'm pretty sure the same ones Jonathan Taylor wore.
I th-
I saw it in all black.
I think TJ Watt still wears the old super bads. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
is it?
I think so, like an unbranded super bad. So it does look kind of like an old highlight. Yeah, he's still in the super bad fives. I remember noticing this because his are unbranded, but they have the Steelers like palm logo. And then
Mhm.
Minka Fitzpatrick, who wears Adidas stuff, also wears an unbranded Nike super bad five. I thought it was weird that two players not signed with those brands on the same team are wearing the same Nike glove. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, we'll
crazy.
see what happens with these new brands, hopping in the space. I'm all for it. So,
Yep.
all right, we've got one more thing to cover, and that's going to be something from week one primarily, and that's going to be the rookie premier patches that we saw on the jerseys of the rookies. So, this is a really cool thing the NFL kind of added. They didn't really talk about it much. I just kind of noticed it. So, the rookies in their NFL debut get a little patch on their jersey that kind of just says, hey, it's my first game. And it gives them, a cool little jersey to kind of remember their first NFL game by. Because, of course, as a rookie, you want to keep that first jersey for yourself, put it up in the crib, look at it, be like, wow, I made it to the NFL. And the patches are pretty cool. We have a photo that you could probably pull up real quick of Bryce Young wearing it. And the cool thing about these is that no matter when a guy makes their debut, they're going to wear this jersey. So if a guy was hurt the first 6 weeks of the season, he's a rookie, he hasn't played a game yet. When he plays in that week 7 game, he's going to get this patch on his jersey. So whenever a player, debuts the NFL, they get that patch. I think it's a really cool, small little uniform detail. But I think it's really cool that they did that.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. That's kind of the thing is, I wonder if now I took a little screenshot and zoomed in. They don't say the actual date of the game. They just say Premiere 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never actually considered it from the standpoint of like, oh, this is a one-off jersey that they're gonna wear. This is their rookie, their first jersey, and then hang it up.
Yeah, so it's just a small little cool thing that the NFL is doing for their rookies. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah. It's weird because they even talk about how expensive jerseys are, and everyone can't do the jersey swap thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much this impacts it because of, frankly, how many rookies there are that come through the league and play one game. If you're a practice squad guy that gets called up for one game on specials or something, and then you're sent back down, it's like a one-off jersey, and obviously I'm sure they've run the numbers and they know how much it's costing, if it's costing them money or if it's costing the player money. I'm assuming if you're a practice squad guy and they said, hey, we're doing this new initiative and you'll get a patch in your jersey and you'll get to keep it after, you'll just have to pay us $500 or whatever. No one's going to say no to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder what the turnover is on those jerseys that they know of on a weekly basis. And they would have the numbers to know that every game on average, 2 guys get called up or something from the practice squad because of injuries and fill roles on specials or, backup linebackers / fill a spot on a special team or something.
Yeah. But yeah, if any of you guys see this patch on a jersey in the future, you know what it's for. So that's good.
That's neat. I do like that. I like that they have that. I like that they have the patch for the Man of the Year. It's definitely cool. Yeah, obviously just to give people that little bit of recognition.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're doing something cool. So definitely a cool little thing.
Yeah, the NFL's been doing a lot of stuff like that. They used to have the patch on the back of the helmet, and of course you've got the captain's patch, and then you get like a colored-in star for each year you've been a captain. Now the back of the helmet you can kind of display a message. They're doing a lot of like small little things to kind of express yourself and like reward you for whatnot. But then you still can't show any skin on your legs. So it's a fun balance with the NFL.
Yeah. That's a weird
Yeah.
one. We can do a whole segment on that, on weird NFL rules or unequivalent.
We should. That'd be fun.
That'd be cool. Cool.
But yeah, I mean that's gonna do it for Big Football Guys podcast covering week 1 and week 2. We're hoping to kind of bring these to you guys every single week, kind of going over stuff. If you guys have any suggestions, please let us know in the comments. We're pretty much open to anything. We're just trying to bring you guys, a fun, casual football podcast with a little bit of a focus on news and equipment. So hopefully you guys do enjoy it. This has been another episode of Big Football Guys.
Peace.